You ever pass someone on the street and wonder, how did they end up there? This isn't just another story about homelessness. It's about a man who lost everything. He wasn't just a face in the crowd. His journey could happen to anyone. Hello, I'm Priscilla, and today's story is about James. James wasn't the kind of man you'd expect to see sleeping under a bridge. Just a few years ago, he had what many of us dream of. He had his own place, a steady job. He was the guy everyone called when their car didn't start. He wasn't rich, but he was reliable, solid. Back then, James worked at a shipping warehouse. Not glamorous, but it paid the bills. He'd clock out, grab a coffee, call his mom up in Canada, or meet up with coworkers for dinner. And his laugh? The kind of laugh that was so contagious, you'd forget you even had a bad day. A simple life, a good life. But life doesn't always send warnings. First, James thought he caught a bad cold. But when it got worse, doctors admitted him in the hospital with pneumonia. By God's grace, after a week in the hospital and 2 weeks recovering at home, he was able to return to work. But his bills, they began to pile up. He worked longer hours, but money slipped through his fingers like sand. Then came the layoffs. His hours were cut, and just like that, the company shut its doors for good. James applied everywhere, dozens of jobs, nothing. The only work he could find was grocery deliveries, but it wasn't enough to cover rent. One evening, he came home to see that dreaded piece of paper taped to his door, an eviction notice. He sold what little he had. Some things were donated, the rest left on the curb. The small savings he'd managed. Went to a motel, then a friend's couch, then another, and then nowhere. Most people think homelessness is a choice. For James, it was a chain reaction. He found himself sleeping anywhere he could find, including park benches, using his sweater as a pillow. James used to joke, "I'm just camping in the city." Rent-free. Even in darkness, he tried to find light, but behind the smile was the kind of exhaustion you can't see unless you've lived it. Winter hit hard. Nights were freezing. Days were long. Cardboard became his mattress. And the worst part? It wasn't the cold or the hunger. It was people walking by, like he was invisible. He would tell himself, maybe if I planned better, maybe if I saved more, things could have been different. He bowed his head and whispered a short prayer, "God, help me." But when he lifted his eyes, he felt nothing but silence. But then, a few days later, someone didn't just walk by. Her name was Carla. She stopped and asked him how he was doing. She gave him a fresh sandwich and hot coffee. She shared her story of being on the streets for 15 years and how now she spends her time helping out at the local outreach program. James was so happy and thankful for Carla's kindness. She didn't give him money. She gave him something better, a conversation. Carla would see James every morning when she commuted, and she decided to tell someone about him at the outreach program. The small kindness she offered led him to a shelter. There, James met Susan, the program instructor. For the first time in a long time, he had a warm meal, a shower, clean clothes, and something he had not felt in a very long time, hope. Susan got him into a transitional housing program and helped him apply for a skills training course. It wasn't magic, it was hard work, but James showed up every single day and put in the effort, and slowly, his life began to change. After 3 months on his new job, his company renovated an entire downtown building. James fixed the walls and painted the rooms in several units all the same color. His boss laughed and said, "At least the walls are level and you're consistent." James laughed too. But this time, the laugh felt different. It felt real. Today, James has his own apartment, a steady job in construction, and get this, he volunteers at the local outreach every Saturday mentoring young men who are struggling. He tells them, homelessness isn't the end, it's just a chapter, and he always adds, if someone hadn't stopped for me, I wouldn't be here, so now I stop for someone else. So, the next time you pass someone on the street, remember James, because sometimes all it takes to change a life is stopping long enough to see it. Thank you so much for watching James' story. If it touched your heart, please share it because you never know who might need a little hope today. I'm Priscilla and I share real, powerful stories just like this one every week. So if you'd like to be inspired, encouraged, and reminded that you're not alone, make sure to subscribe and join me for the next story. Until then, take care.